Gather around, kids, because it's story time, and I have a ghost story to tell. A true ghost story about the time I saw a ghost, but didn't realize I was seeing a ghost until I did. Hi, I'm Steve Christian, the host and creator of a TV show that ran locally here in Jacksonville called Local Haunts, a paranormal investigation show. But before Local Haunts, I was already experiencing paranormal activity. In fact, my whole life, I grew up experiencing the paranormal. But this one case in particular, I didn't realize was paranormal until suddenly I did. A little backstory. Back in 1995, I just started working at a TV station, Channel 17 here in Jacksonville. But then my stepfather, who was running a radio station in town, offered me a part time job. He wanted me and my younger sister to co host a talk show on the radio station he was running, which was AM 1010 here in Jacksonville. It was a little podunk station built in 1947, right in the heart of Jacksonville. In fact, if you're from the Jacksonville area and you know where the Orange Dinosaur is, this was right across the street, right across Beach Boulevard on a 30-acre piece of property behind some other buildings. One October evening in 1995, my sister and I reported to the radio station to do our radio show, Radioactive. My radio name was Woody Nichols. My sister went by Anita Mann. Now, this radio station was located down a dirt road and it opened up to like a 30-acre piece of property. And then it was just like this little concrete block, 2,000 square foot little building. And that's where the radio station was. So it was kind of creepy and isolated, but yet right in the middle of town. The building was built in 1947 and it had that distinctive nicotine smell that all old radio stations back then had, because once upon a time, people were allowed to smoke inside their office spaces. And apparently back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, everybody smoked. So this old building also had that lovely old bouquet of an ashtray. Now, as my sister and I arrived to work that night for our radio shift, the receptionist was just leaving and she locks the door on her way out. And how the radio station was situated, there was a little lobby that had some, furniture for a waiting room right as you walk in, two glass doors. And then there's a hallway that goes straight back to the rest of the radio station. But to the right of the lobby, there was a window that looked into the recording studio where we did our radio show. So where I'm sitting doing my radio show, I can look through a window into the lobby and I can see the front door. Then back in the back of the building, there's other offices and the transmitter and other recording studios and stuff down that hallway that leads from the lobby. So we'd been on the air for a little while and it was just getting dark outside, not quite completely dark, but getting dark. And I could see the lobby plain as day from where I was doing the radio show. And then something caught my eye. I looked into the window that looked into the lobby and there's a man standing there. Now the receptionist had already left. The front door was locked, but yet there was this man standing in the lobby right inside the door. He was in the lobby. He was a man of about 40, 45 years old, I would guess. He had short hair on the side. He was bald on top. He was wearing a white short sleeve button-up shirt and dark slacks. And he was just staring down the hallway. Now, there is a door that closes the lobby off from the rest of the radio station, but that door was left open at night when it was just me and my sister on the air. And other than the lights that were on in the studio where my sister and I were broadcasting from, the only other light on in the building was in the hallway. And that hallway light was shooting down into the lobby, illuminating the front door where the man was standing. I was actually on the air at the time I noticed him, so I kind of quickly wrapped up what I was doing and went to a commercial break so I can go and ask the man what he wanted. He's just standing there in the lobby. He would have had a clear view of me in the window, but he's looking down the hallway. And then he starts to walk towards the hallway. So I jump up after I get to commercial break and I try to go catch him. So I tell my sister there's a guy in the building, so I need to go find out what he wants. So I go run to the hallway to try to intercept him. So when I got to the hallway, he had already passed that doorway and was heading down the hallway toward the back of the station. And the only thing down there was a couple of offices. I called out to him and he didn't respond. He walked down the hallway and just walked into the last office on the left. He looked like he knew where he was going. He was probably 10 feet in front of me. I went down the hallway and went into the doorway that he just went into. Imagine my surprise when I walked into the office that he walked into, he wasn't there. There was nowhere for him to go. It was a small office, about 10 by 10. It had a private bathroom, and there was a desk and some old boxes and a couple of windows, and that's it. There was no man. He was not there. So I stood there dumbfounded. So I started rerunning through my head everything that just happened. And it occurred to me there wasn't something quite right about him. He kind of gave me the impression of being from like the 1960s. The way he looked, the way he dressed, he didn't look like he was from 1995. And he had this kind of somber look on his face when I saw him in the lobby. And he was just staring intently down the hallway like he had a mission. And that's when he took off and went down the hallway. But as soon as he went into that office, he had disappeared. I was literally 1 second behind him. He could not have gone anywhere. I turned the light on in the office, looked around. There was no man. He was gone. Only like 30 seconds had gone by since I left the studio to go catch the guy. So I go back into the studio and told my sister, the dude disappeared. And she's like, what? Because she never saw him. From where she was sitting to my right, but the window was over here at my left. So she did not have a vantage point to see him in the lobby. But she knew that I saw him. I said, yeah. He walked into that office down the hallway and disappeared. She's like, really? I said, yeah. It's the craziest thing. Did I just see a ghost? Yeah, I did. People don't normally just disappear. Now, I told my stepfather about what happened, and he told me that he thought he had heard about a story about a general manager of the radio station back in the 60s or 70s that had killed himself, possibly in that office. That would have been his office. I can't find any news stories to validate it, so I don't know. And sadly, the building is now gone. It caught fire sometime after that and is now just a ruin sitting on a 30-acre field. It's still vacant. But that radio station was sold to another company, and it is now broadcast as a news talk radio station. And the funny thing is that news talk radio station is now housed in the same building where the TV station is that I used to work for, Channel 17, which was also bought by another station. So they moved to another building. And then AM 1010 moved into Channel 17's building. So kind of a full circle. Anyway, I wish I knew more details about the guy. I only saw him the one time. It was a very creepy old building. It felt like it would be haunted, but sure enough, I saw this guy. He looked solid as can be, but something wasn't quite right about him. It didn't seem right. Obviously, he walked through a glass door to get into the lobby because the door was locked. So unless he had a key, he walked through the glass door. But when I first noticed him, he was already there. He was just standing there in the lobby like he just materialized. And he walked down the hallway, went to the left office, disappeared. There's no explanation for it. So I did not realize I was seeing a ghost until suddenly I realized I saw a ghost. Years later, when I met Pamela Theresa, my life partner and business partner, who is a true spiritual medium, she sees and hears the dead like you see and hear me. And I told her I wish I had that ability. And she told me right then, you have seen spirit like I see spirit, because she knows things, freaking nature. You know what? She was right. How about you? Have you ever seen a spirit that was so solid you thought they were a living person until they just disappeared in front of you? Let me know in the comments. If you like what we do, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to have a session with Pamela Theresa, Medium in the Raw, because her day job is being a spiritual medium, she connects people to their loved ones on the other side. You can find her contact info in the description of this video. Tune in next time for more My Haunted Medium Life.